All right, good morning, cyber traders. Welcome on back here this Wednesday, January 25th. You could see my platform, you could hear me, and you should be able to see me coming up right here on webcam, here on social media, Facebook Live and YouTube. Great to see all of us back inside the live trading room. Great to have Grant, Wayne, Ray, Gary, Patrick, Daniel, Lita, the ladies of the room, Barbara, Wendy. We had Catherine here just a moment ago. Who else? Don't want to leave anyone else hanging here. We had John, we had Jeff, obviously otherwise. So, and Phil included. So with that said, let's hop right to it, folks. Really good morning so far. We had a couple of good trades early on in pre-market. The SNOA trade with the FWBI and the INPX made a sneaky move off that 2 levels. So, we'll go over those stocks in just a moment. Hey, even with yesterday, it was a bit of a wonky day, but we had some good opportunities. We had the COSM trade, Cosmo, that is, COSM. And I think, what else did we have? We had the GROM trade, right? GROM. So let's go over those to start. Then we'll kind of recap the pre-market that was, and we'll see what's ahead going into the market open. So, to begin, the COSM trade, I mean, just look at this. Ended up exploding midday, like kind of out of nowhere, but that was off of like the day prior's move. So, we ended up following this from Monday, then the, day before that even. So yesterday, we ended up seeing this make a big pop, exploded above resistance off of 5, and it got halted pretty quickly. So even off the reopen there, I'll zoom in on my chart, but it ended up pulling back. It got a little shaky and nasty, profit taking, but it led to a couple of good bounces. It held strong throughout like the mid-afternoon, so it was teasing that pop-up higher heading into the close. Unfortunately, it didn't really make that push, but hey, for a stock that made as big of a push yesterday, oftentimes, we'll see this coming up in a moment, you tend to find those on the losers list the next morning. So Cosmo right now, COSM, yeah, I mean, hey, it's like basically flat break even right now. It's actually up a little bit more in pre-market early this morning. So going into the open, I don't mind like putting this on our list here just to begin. It's kind of slumping off right now, but if it tanks from this point forward, like in this meeting, then I'll scratch it off our list. But for right now, it's kind of hanging in there. We'll see if it ends up making the higher high at least after the open. Even if it does, be careful though, because that could be a head fake. It could break over 650 or run up to 7, head fake off 7, and slam right back down. So we need to be careful of that at least going into the open. So we had the COSM trade, and then we had the GROM. I feel like Jacob DeGrom, Mets pitcher. It's kind of a New York thing, but nevertheless, I'm going to delete my lines here. GROM ended up making a nice squeeze as well heading into the mid-afternoon, but it was more from pre-market that we ended up doing well on this trade with. So, after 7 o'clock, it ended up popping, broke over 3, ran up really nicely, $1 up to 4. So there's your head fake off of 4 after 8 o'clock, and then later on, it ended up, well, trying to make the move back up again. Broke back over 3 one more time heading into the mid to late afternoon, right off basically 2:30 Eastern when we were doing the afternoon meeting. So it led to a good move up from that point. That's why I put this on our watch list going into the afternoon. I'd mentioned in that very meeting, I tend to see the opportunity a little bit more in some trades compared to Fausto. And I mean that in a complimentary way to Fausto. For his 35 years of doing this, he keeps it simple. He keeps it super simple, right? That's where you'll see me pump out like a larger watch list at times. The afternoon list wasn't big to begin with. That's why I was like, all right, like Grom's making a higher low. Maybe there's a chance it could break back over 3. And right after we finished up, it was like already running over that level and squeezed up as high as like 370, 375. But, obviously it didn't stick going into the post market. And now at this point, you could see the stock, I mean, for it to make as big of a run as it made yesterday, down over 28% today. I think this is our top percent loser going into the open. So, that's where we always advocate for trial members joining us here. It might, be exciting. You might want to make some money with us. It looks, pretty fun to do. Yeah, I mean, if you don't know what to do, you can get stuck holding on to a bag like this, and you wake up next morning only praying and hoping it ends up going up and down 28%. So, these are day trades. These are not swing trades. There's a couple of stocks that we'll go over perhaps in a moment that we've been referencing as a swing trade, and we'll put on our watch list as both a day and a swing. But, this one right now, definitely for right now, not looking too good. All right. Always good to work from a home office. Now, with that said, let's go right from top to bottom, though. Otherwise, we had a few stocks in pre-market. Like I'd said, the SNOA trade, it did us pretty nicely early on. I didn't even check to see the news out on this trade, so I was a little ignorant of the news early. My personal experience with this stock, as well as students like Grant and Phil and Leda, a lot of our longtime students of CTU, we've traded the stock in the past. It's like a known pop and drop, like pump and dump type of play, the exact type of stock you don't want to swing trade. So the news that came out on SNOA this morning, looks like them and another pharma company announced Department of Defense registration for one of their products. So I don't know if it's a deal with the Department of Defense, like some contract deal with the government. It seems to be the case. It doesn't disclose any like numbers or any of that, any like financial numbers. So led to a nice little pop early in the morning, but this stock's now making the lower highs. It's trending down off the highs at least. Be careful. I would look for 2 to be support going into the open, but if that fails, then don't try and catch the falling knife down and down and down. The more that you try and do that, I mean, maybe it could bounce, but the more that you do that, you're wasting opportunity elsewhere where there could be a much easier trade for you to follow. So, I'll put this on our list. It's a very liquid stock, tight spread, bunch of volume out there on the bid and the ask, so really tradable in that regard. But that's where it could lure you in, right? All right, so we have the SNOA trade. We have the FWBI stock at least going into the open, trying to make, a squeeze back up, higher lows off of 550. This one also popped in pre-market early. I'm not going to keep checking the news at least, but, it ended up kind of just consolidating after 8 o'clock, fell flat after. So, again, be careful on this trade more for the fact that, as well as the SNOA, it seems to be a pop and drop stock, but at least this one has a little bit more of a spread and thinner volume out there across the bid and the ask. So that's where you got to be careful of a big shake, unpredictable shake on the way down. It's kind of making those lower highs recently here. So I'll put this on our list even a little bit more reluctantly here than the SNOA trade. The INPX, this had a nice squeeze off of $2 after the 8 o'clock move. It was trending down going into 8. So again, trending down, you want to be careful there, but it ended up building the higher lows. It held to and ran up pretty nicely for about 15 cents. So as long as you could find a big level and look for that bounce, that under and over, it can give you that chance at least. But same to be said here as the SNOA. This is like a pop and drop stock historically. You could just take one look at the daily chart across the last 365 days and counting. But there you go. So this stock has been split probably over and over and over, more times than I can count. The reason I say that is because I just don't recall the stock was like $2 million a share. TradeStation will factor in like reverse stock splits. So, this has always been a cheap stock. They've probably been splitting to, remain above NASDAQ listing requirements. So with saying that, be careful. You don't want to get stuck holding on to this trade. But, as a day trade, we'll see if this can make another pop, the INPX. All right, we got a couple name brands, though, we're going to talk about. And in fact, I'm running right into this ATNF trade for the first time here, or at least for the first time since like really 8:30. Popped like going into 8 o'clock, just had a really thin volume out there. And now it still does have a thin order book, but it's filling in a tiny bit more. Hopefully, it fills in a lot more after the market opens up. But make a much better move here, at least heading into the open. So I'll put this more near the top of our list here so far. The COSM trade, the SNOA trade, and then the ATNF. A couple more that I wrote down. All right, what else we got? ARDS. This was looking a little active early on from this morning, but not much doing here. AUPH, same deal. GoEv, same deal. This is an EV company. The stock's teased us in the past. Very tradable, but it's just kind of lingering there, not doing much of anything. Now here we go, name brand, Shopify. So I didn't know the news out on Shopify until like I just posted it maybe 10 minutes prior. So I think the news out was like an upgrade, right? Was it JP Morgan? No, Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank upgraded the stock from hold to buy and raised its price target from 40 to 50. You never want to hold your breath, waiting for these price targets to hit, especially in like a singular day's time. But I was kind of scanning this morning early, and I was going down my most active list, like by volume. I'm like, oh, Shopify, okay. Normally trades good volume, but it was like near the top. I'm like, all right, well, that could be like an algo. It could be like a dark pool print, so to say, just one block print, and there's no activity. I turn over, and it's like trending up really well. It's up now. It's up over 5.5%, but yeah, it was looking good to begin with, and now even more so. So Shopify definitely I'll put on our watch list here, and definitely near the top. The ATNF, Shopify again. All right, so now we're kind of dipping below 5%. You got the ETFs on here, like the Qs and UVXY at least. So, market's down a tiny amount here so far, but, we'll see if there's anything on the loser side or anything else that I missed from the gainers, folks. If there's anything else that looks good, type it in the chat board. Just anything up, down, left, right, 5%, popping, dropping right now. Just let me know. All right, PGEN. It's on the way down, and surprisingly from TradeStation, it is shortable for me this morning personally. So it could be a good trade. It could be a good short here so far going into the open. If it's hard to borrow for you, then I would just skip over it. I would not put it on your personal watch list if it's hard to borrow. It's easy to borrow. Now, the question is, like, how low could it go? Just because it's shortable doesn't mean that we're going to look to try and short it. So, the closer we get to the literal ground floor, like zero, it just doesn't make sense to try and short it. So, it could be something to watch, but I even want something that's like a little bit more expensive of a short, like, $4 or $5, $10, $20, something like that. And that pretty much wraps it up. I could tell because everything else is hard to borrow from my platform at least, or otherwise like cheapy, or just not really trading a lot of volume right now. There could be something that I missed. I'll typically jinx myself when I say that, right? All right, so I'll tell you, I really don't see much else that looks great, folks. So, if there's anything else up, down, left, right, just type it in the chat board here. Just let me know. All right. John saying FWBI getting interest here at or above the VWAP. So that we have on our main list already. I was a little reluctant at first, but definitely making a better move right now. So yeah, this definitely looks strong here now at this point. And just for what it's worth, the stock has dropped off so much, and perhaps you could say reverse splits factored in, but on a short squeeze, right? This is like the hope to see. This is like the goal to have happen. So, there could be a lot more left to see here. It's only up 50%. I say only because INBS, whatever the hell it was up like 600% 2 days ago. Cala, OTRK, you name it. You know everything I'm talking about, folks, right? All of these past runners. We don't want to get spoiled and greedy with it, but hey, perhaps after the market opens up, after the first 5 minutes, it makes a big shakedown, profit taking, and then it'll build new support, slingshot up higher. Just very shoot from the hip thought, but no, that's definitely possible heading into the open here. All right. Jeff saying the ARDS trade, maybe that's getting a little bit more steam now. Yeah, it's not looking too great so far. I mean, if it could pop over one, then, there's a trade. If you're already in it, then you're probably going to be more inclined to try and stick with it. But aside from that, I'd say, there's just better stocks out there right now. That FWBI, AT&F, Shopify. If you're not into the more expensive stocks, then, the others that I mentioned. But, if you could break over $1, there's a setup, but otherwise, I'd pass. If it can't break over one cleanly, don't get stuck holding on to it because it can make a pretty big shakedown, quickly. All right. All right. So let me know if there's anything else, folks. Up, down, left, right, more than 5%. I don't see much else from YouTube or Facebook Live or Twitter now, I should be saying. Got the FWBI here on Benzinga Pro. Got not much else. Chuck getting some money inside our live trading room right now. In from 614, got out at 697 on that trade. Excellent job, Chuck. There you go. Taking the money and running, right? And hey, that's what we teach you, not just to take the money and run, but, like normally like 9:10, 9:15 Eastern time, get out. Like just not only let the stock breathe and give the stock a chance to relax here, and perhaps it can go up higher, but who cares? If you're here all day, you're going to find your next trade. That's where I say on the flip side, it's not just for letting the stock breathe, but it's to let Chuck breathe and be like, all right, cool. Started off the morning pretty nicely. Let's take a step back, relax, and just find my levels for the next trade. That's all. All right. So for all of us on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube, hey, I appreciate you folks. If you have any other questions before joining us inside our live trading room, feel more than free to send it over to my email address, josh@c2trading.com. Always like to post my email here at the end of these streams. I'll catch back, though, at 2:30 Eastern time. And then otherwise, if you're joining us just inside our live trading room, just go right down to the link on the green banner below the stream just to get yourself started. It's a week-long trial for $9. It'll give you live access to workshops, pre-recorded access, or access to pre-recorded workshops. Got to catch my breath here. But nevertheless, folks, for Leda and Ray, Grant, John, Jeff, and all of us inside the live trading room, I'm going to take a step back and relax, give myself a chance to breathe. We're going to be good to go, folks, coming up in just about 15 minutes. I look forward to it. Talk to you soon.